These are the Sony WH-1000X Mark II headphones. Today I'm going to take a look at the things that I like about these and a few things that I don't. So jumping inside of that nice box is yet another nice box. You open up this nice box, you have another box, well, container. This is your carrying case that you'll keep your headphones in. Inside here you also have some instructions you don't need, a USB cable, a 3.5 millimeter cable for plugging in to a headphone jack, and that's it. Inside the carrying case, open it up here, you see the headphones folded up really nicely. There's this kind of funny little felt divider here, I think to stop them from clinking into each other, and an airline adapter here. There's actually a little insert I left in here, which shows you how to fold it up properly to fit in the case. So, first impressions are, how does it look? I think these are really nice looking headphones. I appreciate that Sony went really with an understated look. There's nothing flashy about these. They're really sleek and kind of basic looking, but I like that about them. This is one of the two color options available. There's also kind of a champagne gold beige looking one that I don't particularly like, but I'm sure there's some people out there that do. So the fit and finish of these, I would have honestly expected a little bit more from Sony, and for paying $300 to $350 for these. Pretty much everything on here is plastic. The headband, the yoke, the ear cups, the surround, everything here is plastic. There's a strip of metal here, and it's actually inside the entire headband. When you adjust the headphones, the plastic glides along the metal. It's very thin, but nice sturdy metal. I'm sure it's adding a little bit more rigidity, but also some flexibility here. You can't have cheap plastic bend quite like that. It feels and sounds even kind of plasticky, and there have been reports, especially on the predecessor, but also even early on this model, of it kind of cracking along here, particularly at this spot, and once that's done, these are done. The ear cups and the underside of the headband are kind of like, it's a protein leather, pleather type of material. I think that's all right. There's nothing inherently better about real leather. This is fine. I'm not sure how well it will hold up. I think over time, I've had, a lot of pairs of Sonys over the years, and I do know that along here, it starts to bend and it cracks, and then this kind of fake top layer just kind of peels off and flakes away. So I don't think that would hold up very well over time. The creaky plastic I don't think will hold up super well over time. But all in all, it's flexible. As of right now, a month of use, it doesn't feel like there's anything I should worry about at this point. One thing about the look I don't particularly care for is the outer covering of the ear cups. The predecessor had kind of a leather look, and I thought it looked really kind of high-end and classy. This kind of is just kind of like this smoothed over, pebbly look, and I don't really know what they were going for. I don't particularly care for it. It's a really small detail of these headphones. It's not a make or break thing at all. In fact, unless you're really close to them, inspecting them in your hands, I don't think anyone's going to see and notice, but just, personal preference. I don't really care for that look. Moving on to comfort, that's one point that I'm a little conflicted on. On one hand, I think that the materials feel fine on my head. The headband is flexible enough and distributes the weight of the headphone just fine across the top of my head. So there's no problems there. Sometimes headphones have kind of a pressure point right at the top. These don't have that problem. One problem that I do have, though, is the ear cups feel pretty small. I mean, for being full-size circumaural headphones, these should go all the way around my ear. And they do, but just barely. It's really close. These are really narrow. I think my ear actually kind of sits like in and up underneath this. A bigger problem than just it being narrow is the ear cups themselves have a lot of give, and they're really shallow. So there's like this mesh material inside of the ear cup that's covering up the driver, protecting it from dust and debris. And at least for me, it sits completely on my ear. which, if you would have told me that ahead of time before I put them on my head, I would have guaranteed you that I would hate it and that it would be really uncomfortable. But I think because it kind of evenly is touching my entire ear and is kind of working like a blanket across my ear, I find them actually pretty comfortable. So comfort, at least immediately so, is really pretty good. Where comfort does start to become a problem is for longer listening sessions. These are closed back headphones. They're narrow. It has this really squishy pleather that sits all around your ear. It has this mesh that sits right on your ear. So there's a lot going on that really traps a lot of heat on your head. That's kind of inherent to closed back headphones, but I find it especially problematic with these in particular. I wear these for about an hour at a time, and then I really just need to take them off and give myself a little break. It does start to become kind of annoying and uncomfortable. As far as feature set goes, I think Sony was just trying to see how many things they could cram into these and how many features they could list on the box. Just to get out of the way, there's some things that I find really stupid and ridiculous features, like auto calibration stuff that measures atmospheric pressure while you're moving around, and then you sit down and then you stand up and then you walk. It's sensing that you're doing all of those things, and it's constantly adjusting and calibrating, and it beeps at you, and it's kind of annoying. I would kind of like to just pick a mode, and I think you can in the app select it to just be a certain mode, but kind of by default, it is adjusting all of that stuff on the fly all the time. It has lossy music enhancement, which I don't really believe in. It can't really bring back details that are missing via compression. There are sound modes where you simulate being in an arena, or there's a sound placement option that if you want music to just be coming from your right, just directly to your right, you can make it sound like that for some reason. I don't know why anyone would ever turn on that option. It was kind of funny to play with for 30 seconds, but then beyond that, it was just it's weird that it's in the app as like a main sound adjustment. But moving on to good features, first and foremost, the noise canceling is just absolutely world class. It is definitely on par with the Bose Quiet Comfort 35 headphones. These and the Bose are considered to be the best in the industry. Some people argue that one's better than the other. I own both, and I actually kind of think that they're the same. I think in practice, I don't really notice a difference. One downside of these is there's actually kind of like this hiss, like a background noise when you have noise canceling on. Once music starts playing, it goes away entirely. You can't hear it. Another good feature set, there's some good Bluetooth options on here. It's Bluetooth 4.1, but it does aptX HD, which not all phones can do. I have an iPhone 8 Plus, and it can't do that. It can't do any advanced Bluetooth stuff. But, a lot of Android phones and some portable players can do aptX, which is a higher quality Bluetooth connection. It also does Sony's LDAC connection. Another small feature, if you want to use it, there is a built-in equalizer in Sony's app. So there's this feature that I think is really cool. It's an ambient mode. It can be used with noise canceling. So you turn it on. You can turn it on with one of the only two physical buttons on this thing. You can also turn it on in the app. Imagine you have on these closed back headphones, you have noise canceling turned on, and you're playing music. You're probably not going to hear things that are around you. You probably won't hear someone saying your name from across the room, or you might not hear a truck coming down the road. So if you want to have a little bit more safety or a little bit more convenience, you can turn on this ambient mode. And what it does is it actually uses the external microphones, and it picks up the sound around you, and it pumps it back in to your headphones actively, and you can hear those things. You can also have it focus just on voices if you don't want it picking up things like cars or air conditioning units or things like that. So if you're in an office environment, you want to have noise canceling active, but you want to be able to hear the person next to you say your name, you have that as an option. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. I wasn't sure I would like it, but actually I think it's a pretty neat feature, and I wish other noise canceling headphones had an option like it. There are two features about the right ear cup that one is good and one is bad. The one that's good, it has this little mini feature that, let's say you don't have the ambient sound mode turned on, and you want to hear what someone's saying to you. You don't want to pause your music or be a courteous person and take your headphones off. All you have to do is you put your hand like that, cover the whole ear cup. It uses the external microphones, picks up what the person's saying. You can hear what's going on around you. You can have a brief conversation with someone. You remove your hand and your music keeps playing. The thing that I really hate about this right ear cup, this is what Sony has opted to use as the controls for the headphones. It's a 4-way control touchpad. Swipe up to volume up, swipe down, back, forward, double tap to play, double tap to pause. I have seen and read a lot of reviews that say, oh, good for Sony, trying something different. It's this really neat touch-based thing. They did it better than Sennheiser. It works really well. I personally hate this. I don't think it works well. I think it's unintuitive. Instead of just clicking a nice little volume button up, you have to do this stupid swipe motion, and it's delayed. It doesn't always listen to you. You keep doing this, and it just barely raises the volume. I think there'd be nothing wrong with, along the bottom edge, like other manufacturers do, just have some physical buttons. I mean, they already have physical buttons on this ear cup. I don't know why they couldn't have a few on this side. A bigger problem about the controls is not even so much that it's difficult to do. I accidentally activate controls all the time. It's kind of ironic. I go to try to control something and it doesn't listen to me, and then I just try to adjust the headphone on my head, and the palm of my hand will brush against this and go to the next song. And I find that really pretty annoying. To me, this is a gimmick gone wrong. I think there's a design flaw, and it's unfortunately a pretty critical one. I've noticed since I've had wireless headphones that I use the headphones way more than I thought I would to control the volume and what song I'm playing and activating assistants and things like that. So this is very cumbersome to me. I don't like it. I think it was a big mistake on Sony's part. And to me, that's the biggest problem with these headphones. As far as audio quality goes, I think these are really strong performers. I think most people will really like the sound of these. The bass response is what stands out most to me. It is definitely exaggerated. It's a fun sounding, punchy, dynamic sound, and the bass I think is pretty satisfying, especially if you listen to a certain genre that is calling for that, like hip hop and electronic. It's also not to the point where I would say it's like bass heads will love this headphone. It's not too over the top, but it definitely is exaggerated past neutral. Unfortunately, that does bleed into the mid-range a little bit. The lower end of the mid-range is pretty elevated, and that gives a little bit of like a muddy sound. It feels a little cluttered and a little muddy. And then once you get up to the upper mid-range, the sound is a little bit recessed. That reduces like the presence that's in the presence range, and that just makes the sound feel a little bit veiled to me. But from the low end all the way up to the upper mid-range, even though things are a little out of kilter, it at least is all smooth, and you don't have any like really strong peaks and valleys that sound really out of place. So it's a nice, solid, warm sound that I think is really pleasing, and I think most people would really like. Once you get in the treble range, it's also relatively smooth, except for a few more exaggerated peaks and valleys. That there's a few hot areas in the treble that are a little shouty, and I actually hear some distortion sometimes. And it's just like in some of the detail, things just sound a little bit grainy and a little bit distorted. But all in all, I would say across the full frequency band, things are smooth, and they're good sounding headphones. They're warmer than neutral, and they're a little punchier and more dynamic than what is neutral. But like I said, I think a lot of people will really appreciate that about them, actually. So bottom line, I think these headphones are a great option. I think they're nice looking. I think they are a great understated look, and they're pretty durable, they're pretty comfortable, and they sound really very nice overall. The noise canceling is absolutely great if that's one of the key things that you're after. If you can deal with the control scheme better than I can, I think they're a really good option. I think this is the most reasonably priced among its competition. If you're after a full-size circumaural travel-ready headphone that looks nice, sounds pretty good and is relatively comfortable and cancels the world around you, I think these are a great option. For me personally, I'm not keeping them, mostly because of the control scheme and a couple other reasons I get into more in my written review. So anyways, if you like this video, if you found it helpful at all, hit the like button or leave a comment down below. Follow the link in the description to my written review of this. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps.